Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brother Amir and Brother Phil. This is August the 7th. Wake up, everybody. Another session on Just General Talk. Brother Phil, what you got on your mind today, brother?
Well, what I have, Brother Amir, is, I know people get tired of talking about race, but unfortunately we can't avoid it. So here's a book that I don't know if people are familiar with it, but Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGrasse. And this book is real deep. I picked it up maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And in the book, of course, we know PTSD. This one here, this sociologist, Dr. DeGrasse, if you're not familiar with her, go on YouTube. But she's breaking down on how slavery that we know was perpetuated on our ancestors still to this day affects us in our DNA. And prior to you and I coming on to do our second segment, we were discussing the ways that some of our people in the African American community, I guess, handle themselves around the Caucasians. Right now with this election, that there's a Kamala Harris who's of black descent and Indian descent, and they're questioning her race.
Right.
And we only see this when it's a person of color.
That's true.
Why? Why is that? And like I said, that's where I think this book for me is relevant. It's deep. People really need to get a copy or go on YouTube, because some of us, I think, don't even realize we've been indoctrinated into a system of white superiority. And for some strange reason, and I've seen it in my profession, I'm an electrician by craft. And when I first came into the craft, predominantly white male. And I was the few black males that I seen that worked in my profession, I saw them almost bow down to these Caucasian males, right? And I don't know if in your profession, I would assume you witnessed the same thing.
Yes, indeed.
So I mean, why is that?
Well, I tell you, brother, I think every African American, every person that is melanated has some kind of story to tell about just the content of our skin, and how other people across the globe, not just America, have portrayed us as being less than, where we're the fathers and mothers of civilization. Just think about not just here. When we go abroad, you go to the islands. The islands are nothing but Africans. You go to Africa, we got to disconnect with Africans. The continent, the motherland, has a disconnect with African Americans. When I've gone there, I just remember, not having a relationship with them, meaning Africans, but when they heard my native tongue, you would have thought I was Michael Jackson, because they were so happy to have somebody from another country that looked just like them come and embrace them. I have plenty of friends that are from the whole entire continent, from South Africa all the way up to Morocco, Libya, Egypt, Nigeria, Kenya, all over. And we've always had great relationships, because I make it my business to have that kind of conversation and share with them what I know about us and the things that we've been facing here in America. And they've always been able to have an open conversation with me, because over there, when I was there in Africa, they were asking if I had an orange suit. I never forget it. I didn't know what they was talking about. But they thought all black American men had an orange suit that represented jail.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So the orange jumpsuits that I guess on television is pretty prevalent. I worked in a jail for a while, but so I didn't know that there were some African people that thought that orange jumpsuit was like something that all of us own.
Yes,
wow.
But think about this. This is 2024.
Right.
And the perception that America has of Africans is not good, right?
Yeah.
Famine, killing one another at a massive rate, starvation, okay, uncivilized,
Yeah.
right? Where in every part of the continent there's major cities. Okay, think about this, and no one really talks about this. That I hear. There's not a place on the globe that has humankind walking on it that does not need something from Africa.
That's true.
So how could Africa be the third world when it's the first world?
Right.
And everybody needs all the things that Africa has. So until we get to educating one another, sharing all the things that we've created from day one, and that we're the kings and queens of civilization, because we went from kings and queens to pimps and prostitutes. That's how we dress one another. Women are calling one another bees. Brothers been calling one another dogs, and this. I'm like, I ain't never walked on all fours. I ain't never seen no brother walk on all fours. So how did we get this term of endearment? And these other groups of people looking at us like we can't respect them because they ain't respecting themselves.
Yep, and that's where, like I said, for this particular book, um, all those signs of post-traumatic stress. And I'm for us, and this is where every people that are familiar with Dr. Umar Johnson. Dr. Umar's start that I became familiar with him, he was talking about building 2 schools.
Right.
One was for females, and I believe it was Harriet Tubman School for colored girls or black girls. Then he had the Marcus Garvey Academy for young men.
Right, that's correct.
And he was saying the curriculum was strictly about us learning about ourselves. Right? We know that no matter where you are, you got to learn about mathematics, you got to learn about science, some social studies. Quite naturally, we've been left out of history. So we're in a country that was founded by, we know, some slave owners, Europeans. And at the time that this nation was formulated, our people were not a part of the decision-making class. The Constitution that we followed, all the laws were set up by white males. No input from anyone else, not just black folks, but no Asian people, no Hispanic people, just strictly white people. I find that astounding. And here we are, we're on the verge of possibly electing a female who's of Indian descent from India and then Jamaican descent from her dad, which we know is black. But when are we, as people of color, going to come up with an agenda that exclusively pertains to us?
Right. With no other input from anybody else. We don't need nobody else's input on what we need to do for us. But then we've been talking about this. We in our 60s. We've been talking about this since we was kids. Like, with us, it's like everybody got their own personal agenda. When we look at the Asian population here in this country, and you look at it abroad, but we look at it right here. They move quietly, but they move like mountains. They move in mountains. You look at the East Indians now. East Indian population is becoming bigger and bigger here in this country. They're doing the same thing. You look at the Middle Eastern, they're doing the same thing. You look at the Latinos. The Latino so-called numbers have surpassed us. We don't even know what the true numbers are, right? But they move in mountains. They move quietly. We still screaming and hollering, marching, crying, all these things, asking somebody else for their approval. When everybody on the globe has tried to emulate the African American man. Everybody on the planet. You could look at the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they wear certain types of clothing. Everything that we do was started now in our modern time of living through the African American man. We got African American women wanting to be African American men. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, We don't need to do anything but turn to each other. You know, I just remember Dr. John Henry Clark. He said it best. Real easy quote, and he made it plain and simple. Until black people realize we ain't got no friends but each other, we'd be better off just knowing that and move that way. Because nothing moves without us. But we tend to feel as though we can't move without somebody else's approval. Or I got something from Brother Phil, I need to go get it validated by somebody that knows nothing about us or anything that we may be talking about. But they just want to be a part of that conversation or part of that dynamics to see how they can benefit off of what you brought to the table.
And that's that. You know, this particular conversation, now we talk for several days. But I'm as a father and now grandfather, and you know, I'm an avid reader, as I stated in a few other episodes. I just enjoy reading. If I could spend all my time in a library, just reading and then having conversations with like-minded people, and then taking some of these ideas, putting them on paper, and having the individuals that have the ability, that's what politicians are supposed to do, right? If you're running for office, you're supposed to get your information from your constituents that you work for. And if you just look at American politics, like I said, we didn't start it, we're still a minority. But these people take our money, they do whatever they want to do with it. And as soon as you start speaking of doing something for our people, there's a problem. If you look at, they're starting to eliminate books from school, and these books are exclusively dealing with mainly things about people from color, people of color. They're telling you woke. They use that term woke. You know, which quite naturally we of the African American community know what it means when someone is woke, right? Prime example, Wake Up, name for a podcast. These people do not want us to truly ever come together and wake up and understand the power we have by working with each other. I'm someone that believes these schools, as Brother Amir stated, we need our own principals, we need our own Board of Education, where no other ethnic group sits in and has any input. If we were able to just create communities that deal with us, and you can call it what you want, these people still make decisions based on their ethnicity, their faith, and then we're expected to blend in, not have any say-so. Now, every group, as you stated about the East Indians and even the Africans that come here, if you pay attention to what's going on in America, groups, when they get here, they blend in with their own. And then they try to live amongst their own the same way they did back in their home country. You're from New York. New York's probably got the most diverse ethnic groups of people on the planet Earth. You know what I mean? For those of us that don't travel, if you go to other countries, you'll see exclusively those people.
Right.
America has a little bit of everything. New York City's got Chinatown, Little Italy. These ain't small areas. They're heavily lived in, run by people that come from those countries. And one of the things up here in Atlanta, this is something that you shared with me. You know, I lived on the south side mainly, coming up on the north side. I'm marveled by grocery stores that are of ethnicity, like the Hispanics and the Asians mainly have their own grocery stores with products that are coming from their native country. Whereas in our communities, I still Kroger, Walmart, Piggly Wiggly, and some of these other grocery stores you never heard of. So for us, being the consumers that we are as a people, it strikes me, I want to hear from you how you feel about it, but we don't have a grocery store chain yet. That's amazing.
No. But just think about this, where we come from. That whole Northeast metropolitan area, from Boston, Connecticut, New York, Jersey, Pennsylvania, DC, that energy level and that diversity is something that we grew up with. You know what I mean? When I moved down here in 1995, moving to Gwinnett, it really, right before the Olympics, it was really just African American and Caucasian. But after that Olympics in '96, it was like a migration rush. Now everybody, now they just said several weeks ago, Gwinnett County is the most diverse county in all of the South.
Wow.
That's number one. Gwinnett County has over 1 million plus people. When I moved here in 1995, it was 430,000 people in Gwinnett County.
Wow.
There's over 1 million plus people in Gwinnett County, you know, of all different races of people, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I like living around diversity, you know, myself. Like you were stating, the grocery store. I really never go to, you know, the regular, you know, American grocery stores, you know, because of the price, the lack of different types of foods that they don't have. And for us, like you stated, there's so many different ethnic groups that have their own grocery store. There's so many vacant lots, vacant buildings where we could have our own grocery store. You know, matter of fact, this weekend I'm going down to Forest Park because they have a open farmers market.
I know where's that.
I just got some information. Brother sent it to me from one of the festivals, so I'm gonna go down and check it out on Saturday. But why can't we house a grocery store?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
With all this money in Georgia, all this money in the Atlanta metro, with all these entertainers, with all these well-to-do African American people. So if they decide to cut us off, where you can't get no food, and you ain't growing your own food, where you gonna go? What you gonna do?
And think about it like this: when you just said you're gonna go down to that open air farmers market. For those that are in the Atlanta area, if you're familiar with it, down in Forest Park, that's where the farmers come, or the farmers' products come up to Atlanta, and a lot of the stores will go down to the farmers market as well as the regular consumer and purchase your, you know, fruits and vegetables straight from the farmer, or the farm that farms that particular set of items you want. So we know we have people that manufacture goods.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm just, especially Metro Atlanta, because Atlanta has a history of entrepreneurial people of color.
That's right.
Right? You got Tyler Perry now here, who has his own movie studios, which is great for the entertainment community. But it's amazing that we haven't ventured into grocery stores. We've got the young lady Pinky Cole, and I believe it's her husband, my man Dave, that has the Big Dave's cheesesteaks.
That's right.
She's turned a novelty food truck, Slutty Vegan, into a franchise, right? Me, I'm marveled in all that, and congratulations to the young lady.
Yes.
So my mind says if we can do it on a fast food side, I know we can open up. Don't have to be gigantic grocery stores, because if you target certain neighborhoods, you just need to be able to serve that neighborhood. Now, Walmart, what they're doing is just commandeering the areas that they go in, bringing a bunch of cheap products, thereby freezing out the small stores, right? But if anyone knows about Walmart, I know a gentleman that works for them. I think they don't give you 2 straight days off. You have to actually take off like a Monday and Thursday. And they only let you work a certain amount of hours. But they seem to, if I did my research, I would believe that in most of the communities of color, Walmart is the dominant grocer in those communities.
That, as well as the local convenience store, the gas station.
Yeah.
Depending on what side of town you live on.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like you said. You mentioned it. You mentioned Tyler Perry. I just say it's bizarre. This man got this kind of resources, and he got his own, you know, the place where he can fly his own jets on his property. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, and you can have anything you want if you can afford to have that.
Yeah.
But you know, what do you want to leave your legacy of that kind of stature of you making it from being homeless to, yeah, Tyler Perry got his own, airline strip and his yard. I mean, I don't know, man. I guess, you do what you do. You know what I mean? But you could be affecting so many other folks. More power to those types of people.
Yeah.
But being able to, I know they're in certain kind of restraints by the powers that be, but none of them, to me, seem like they're helping the masses on a cellular level. You know what I mean? All of them. I mean, I listened to Dr. Umar just the other day, and he made a lot of sense. He said that it used to be, the person, the minister, you know, the influent, business owner used to be the people that the blacks used to listen to.
Yeah.
Now it's the entertainer and the athlete that they have made, the so-called leaders and the spokesperson for the African American community. And we look at them and glorify them because they have so many toys, things that they have purchased. But none of them really do anything on a big scale, a nationwide scale, to benefit the masses of people of color. Like you said, you could have a chain of grocery stores. You could have a chain of a variety of things. You could have a chain of hospitals, a chain of different places where kids can go. Instead of saying, okay, I built a basketball court, or I gave to a nonprofit organization that we never know where those funds went to.
And think about this here, right? And so grocery stores, which I know a lot of us work in them on the management level, on the what do they call it, district manager side. So we have people in our community that have the ability to help make this happen. And we know that we have the capital amongst us.
That's true.
So I believe you shared with me at one time, if you don't mind, speaking on that again, on banks. There's something I didn't know about banks. You were telling me what it requires to actually establish and open up a bank.
You can open up a bank or credit union with $10 million.
So with $10 million, you're telling me, think about this now, this is what pops in my mind, this is ideas. So the average football, basketball, baseball player, you get three of these guys together, they've got the capital to literally establish a bank, right?
That's right.
Now, once they establish the bank, the FDIC portion where your funds are insured, is that a normal thing? You have to meet certain criteria.
You gotta meet certain criteria from the FDIC, the Treasury Department, the banking industry, but that's a part of an application.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. In 2017, I was vice president for a bank right in Gwinnett County,
Okay.
East Indian owned bank. Only one branch. One branch. He specialized in MSB, which is check cashing, funding check cashing locations throughout the Southeast, and 7A 504 loans. He doesn't care about, regular checking, savings, money markets, credit cards, car loans, mortgages. Don't care about that.
Right.
It's in front of the gym that I go to.
Okay.
It sits right in front of the gym that I go to.
And it has to be successful.
I seen him the other day at the gym, the owner. And we got to talking, and he says, man, I really, really miss you. And I was like, well, how's the bank doing? And, a lot of times people want to, glorify their success. And I get it. I would too. He said, man, from the time you were here back in 2016, 2017, we went from a $1 million bank to a $15 million bank.
Wow. So they're doing well.
Doing extremely well. So I think a lot of times we think of, oh, you got to be a Wells Fargo, Bank of America. You know what I mean? You got branches all over. I mean, you could start with several small branches, one on the south side, one on the north side. That's just different charters. So yeah, like you said, I mean, some of these guys are making, $10 million in less than 6 months. You know what I mean? But they got 15 cars. They done bought somebody else's house. They didn't build their own home. They bought somebody else's house for 40, 50 million. Then when it's time to sell it, they got to take a loss because no one wants to buy the home after they done, designed it the way they like it.
Well, this is the way I look at it too. Unfortunately, a lot of us are influenced by what we see growing up. So we know that NBA is changing, right? It's becoming global. That's a fact, right? So there's going to be less African American players native born in the next 10 years because they're going global.
That's right.
So all these young men that make this good money, unfortunately, come from households that do not educate or teach about financial literacy. And there's been a lot of information now, of course, because you can record all day long and put out information, depends on where you search. But there's information out there that at least make you financially literate if you're willing to invest your time and learn.
Right.
So before we close this out, like I said, what I like is just open discussions about opportunities that we as a people should start embarking on.
Absolutely.
And for me personally, we have this election coming up. I think people need to ask whatever candidate you choose to vote for, what is he or she going to do for the community you live in, specifically? You know what I mean?
And most important than anything, guys, ladies, kids, you know, one of the words that I enjoy using and I apply to my everyday life is do your own due diligence. Because the information is not hidden any longer. It's right in front of you. You can use your smartphone, you can use your computer. There's so many different social media outlets. In our early days, we had to go to the library, or somebody that had to take us into their home if your parents didn't have any type of literature for us to read. Now it's everywhere. So do your own due diligence. I mean, this is easy to change the way you think, the way you see the world. It's easy to do that, but just doing the same old thing each and every day and thinking that you're going to get a different result, it'll never happen.
Yeah. So like I said, people, we enjoy these conversations, and hopefully what we're doing is inspiring some people to change their thought. But definitely, us, Brother Amir alluded to this early on, that the days of marching and showing up at these mass ceremonies, grievances, we don't have to do that anymore. If you use your smartphone, one of the things that this brother shared with me, if you've got an email contact list, you can share information with plenty of people instantaneously. Then we have these mediums like this here. You got Zoom, I think, Team and Meets. You can have these conversations, work out a game plan, come up with a list of things that make sense for you and your group, and work towards them goals.
A lot of the older, when you think about the ones that made changes when we were kids, they were grassroots. They were young. They came together. Somebody's yard, somebody's backyard, somebody's home, in their basement. And they said, guess what? We're going to make these changes. But I will say this. We could scream, holler, and shout to the day we transition. But other groups of people don't respect you unless it's financial. We want to make change. You can make change quick. They just said the other day that African American dollar spending was I think it was 3 trillion in America today. 3 trillion of spending. Where's that money going? Who's enjoying it? I mean, just look at all the different places. You go to the mall, everybody that has a kiosk or a business in the mall doesn't look like you. You go to the cleaners, you go to the laundromat, you go to the gas stations that are owned by other folks. We're giving them a certain kind of lifestyle that they never give back to us.
Well, once again, people, we thank you for tuning in, and as our title to our podcast, Wake Up. Get with your friends, your people, your family. Let's change the narrative.
Thanks for listening in.
Yep.
Have an enjoyable rest of the evening, and until the next episode.